LoreWarrior Aerotech, the Titan. Overview. One of the largest of the Star League's fighter carriers, the Titan can transport the entire fighter complement for a battalion. Though this places all of the unit's eggs in one basket, so to speak, the Titan's heavy armour and strong engines make it a reliable enough delivery system to minimise the risk. The arrival of a single Titan shipload can, in fact, often overwhelm the fighter defences of a jump point or a planet. The Titan's only purpose is to deliver its fighters. Consequently, crews tend to be single-minded in performance of duty. The senior member of the crew, the Commander Air Group or CAG, is responsible for positioning the ship for takeoff and retrieval in battle, though he has no say in running the ship in any other circumstance. Capabilities. The Titan was designed with aerospace fighter pilots in mind, and they respond by seeking duty aboard this ship more than any other. Duty aboard this class of vessel is more dangerous than on other ships because the Titan tends to see so much action, but this is offset by the higher degree of creature comforts available to personnel. The ship has a large bridge, which, in addition to its normal functions, serves as tactical nerve center for the fighters in combat. Because the CAG takes the bridge to feed tactical information to each pilot, most air groups consider him or her to be the honorary 19th member of the flight. The ship contains 3 separate flight decks, each capable of housing 6 fighters. The integrity of each deck assures maximum damage control efficiency, as each is equipped with 1 door each for takeoff and landing. So the Titan masses at 12,000 tons. It has a crew of 10 with 18 aerospace pilots. It has 3 GM750A12 engines. Its hull is 250 meters long, and it can carry 18 fighters. Its armor is Star Shield. It's equipped with 8 Pontiac 20 autocannons, 6 Delta 10 LRM launchers, 22 Blazefire large lasers, and 10 Hellion B medium lasers. Manufactured by Dytron Heavy Industries, with its communication system being the OP Air 500, and its targeting and tracking is the infamous IMB SIS 3740. Now, we all know about the IMB systems. It's just a clear rip-off of IBM. And we know that there was a big old legal battle back in the, I think it was the 2430s, 2440s, where IBM, when it was still around, obviously tried to claim that there was a certain amount of copyright infringement and the such. Of course, IBM continued to launch lawsuit after lawsuit, but we all know that IMB, they had friends with very deep pockets, and they kept themselves going much longer than IBM, and IBM went out of business. But I say the IMB system of targeting and tracking is infamous. It's still a very good system overall. It was more of a brand discussion than any actual sort of product discussion, which IMB do a good job with. The 3740 system was leaps and bounds ahead of other air control systems, and obviously being able to deal with so much information at the same time from so many fighters was a big deal back then. Obviously, modern systems have kind of moved ahead, and IMB isn't anywhere near as big a company as it once was now. I think it makes bespoke sort of targeting and tracking systems for like sports aircraft for those pilots who enjoy doing the little sort of skeet racing kind of thing in space. They fly around, they shoot targets, and they move to the next one. Yeah, they're not as big as they once were for the old military side of things. A shame, I suppose. But as far as the actual stats are concerned in the game, the Titan is classed as a fighter carrier. Naturally, it has a structural integrity of 7 with 3 aerospace fighter decks. It has 6 bay doors in total. It has a thrust of 5, an overthrust of 8, consumes 6 thrust for fuel for 480 in total, but consumes about 1.84 tons of that fuel per day. It has 192 armor on the nose, the right and left wing, 224 on the fuselage, and 208 on the engine section. The weapons are distributed as such, with an AC-20 in the nose, the way this is laid out is a bit different. An LRM-20 in the nose, 2 more large lasers in the nose. Its left wing has 2 AC-20s, its right wing has 2 AC-20s, and the left and right wing each have an LRM-20. There are 4 large lasers in each wing, for a total of 8, and then the medium lasers are evenly distributed again, with 4 in the left and 4 in the right. Then it has 2 more AC-20s in the fuselage, another 2 LRM-20s, also supported by multiple large lasers, and the aft section has an AC-20, an LRM-20, and finally 4 more medium lasers. So pretty generously protected, obviously capable of dealing with all the heat it's going to produce, and as an in-system fighter carrier, does its job well. It's not an aircraft carrier in the same respect of, I don't think it's anywhere near as large as those kind of vessels, but it was obviously a good complemental ship that would, probably a few of these craft would be very good at being able to, as it says, deploy its wings quickly, defend itself if it needs to. It could probably also engage in dropship to dropship kind of combat if necessary. Probably useful in the burn-in to get into the system, and then being able to support larger fleet actions, especially in orbit where it could deploy its fighters down to the planet's surface to be able to perform operations and then quickly get them rearmed and repaired and then send them back out again. So a very useful piece of kit. I'm actually kind of surprised that ships like this weren't a more common thing. I know later on, obviously, there are some of there's like the Capellan model, I forget the name, that gets used fairly often as an in-system defense with fighter wings. But you would think something like the Titan would probably still continue, because its equipment isn't Star League era, although this is from Technical Readout 2750. Its weapon systems are all just standard. The heat sinks might be an issue, but you could probably either do things like reduced armor to compensate to have extra heat sinks, or you could reduce its overall weapon complement but still keep the idea of the multiple fighters, because that's its main thing. And you could imagine this probably still being around. I assume, though, that it would not be produced anymore past the heyday of the Star League and the first couple of Succession Wars. It probably fell out of fashion at that point. But that's the Titan. Pretty cool looking ship, actually. I like the design of it. You can see obviously like the bay doors on the side and stuff. I assume something flies out the front as well. But that is the last of the aerospace stuff in TRO 2750. It's been a long little ride there for all of them. The other bits is like personal equipment, which I might come back to in the future. There's a few interesting little things. Like the first one is like EMP pulse mines and stuff like that, for instance. So, but not quite as sexy as fighter craft and tanks and battle mechs and stuff. But we'll see how that goes. But that's it. Yeah, it's the Titan. Thanks for listening as always, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.